In today's video, I'm going to look at Laowa's 8 to 16mm f3.5 to 5.0 zoom lens. Laowa CF 8 to 16mm f3.5 to 5.0 zoom is an ultra-wide-angle zoom lens for APS-C mirrorless cameras with an impressive zoom range equivalent to 12 to 24mm on full-frame sensors. It is a very compact lens and seems to fit nicely on smaller APS-C cameras. Its versatile focal length range makes it a good choice for landscape, architecture and travel photography, or whenever you want a dramatic perspective in your images. In times when it seems that all the major manufacturers except Fujifilm are neglecting the APS-C lens development and focusing on full-frame lenses, it's refreshing to see exciting lenses like this from third-party manufacturers. Let's see how it behaves in real life. You can see this review as a written blog post on our blog site and most of the sample images in high resolution on a separate site. I leave links to the blog post and sample image sites in the description below. I'd like to thank Laowa for loaning me this lens for testing, although this is a totally independent review. First, handling and build quality. The Laowa CF 8 to 16mm f3.5 to 5.0 zoom is a fully manual lens without any electrical contacts, so focusing and aperture setting must be done manually on the lens. Due to the lack of electrical contacts, it cannot transfer any lens EXIF data to the camera either. It's completely made of metal and feels heavy for its size, which is relatively small. The metal mounting plate does not have any sealing gasket, so no weather sealing is incorporated. The aperture ring has gentle clicks at f3.5, f4 and after that for every full stop. There is a declicking switch on the side of the lens barrel that lets you toggle between having gentle clicks when you change the aperture or turning the ring smoothly. In front of the aperture ring you find the zoom ring, which turns smoothly, but the resistance is quite high, and in front of that the focusing ring. The metallic focusing ring is wide and turns smoothly about 80 degrees. It's very easy to manually focus this lens though. The lens comes with a metallic lens cap which clicks into place securely. You also get a front filter adapter that also clicks into place and enables you to use filters in front of the lens. The lens has internal focusing mechanism, which means that the lens does not extend or rotate when you focus. Zooming in or out does not extend the length of the barrel either. This lens is very small and compact, especially for having such a powerful zoom range. Now to the optical features. First, the sharpness near infinity. For the infinity sharpness test, we look at three areas of the image: center, mid-frame, and corner. I moved the camera position to have more or less the same image for all the three focal lengths, 8, 12, and 16mm. First, the shortest focal length, 8mm. Wide open, the center is excellent. The center sharpness remains excellent to f11, where it gets a little less sharp, and f16 reduces the sharpness a little more. The mid-frame sharpness is good wide open. It gets very good at f5.6 and stays very good to f11. At f16 it's just good. The corner is not good at all. Not usable wide open, but at f5.6 it's usable. f8 to f16 the sharpness in the corner is just okay. Now the middle focal length, 12mm. More or less the same story here as at 8mm in the center and mid-frame, but with marginally increased sharpness. The corner is much better though. It's usable at f3.5, f4, good at f5.6, and at f8 the corner sharpness is very good. f11 and f16 lower the sharpness a little. And finally the longest focal length, 16mm. Center and mid-frame sharpness, though still excellent, is still softer compared to wider focal lengths. However, Corner sharpness is significantly improved at wider apertures, f3.5 to f5.6. The overall sharpness change in the center and midframe is not substantial enough to warrant a significant rating adjustment. Corner sharpness is good at f3.5 to f4 and very good at f5.6 to f8 and good at f11 to f16. Now close-up sharpness. At all focal lengths, the sharpness at max aperture is very good. At f5.5 it gets excellent and remains excellent through f11. The diffraction degrades the sharpness at f16. Peak performance is at f5.6 to f8. To summarize bifocal lengths, at 8mm, sharpness is excellent from f3.5 to f11 and very good at f16. At 12mm, sharpness is very good at f3.5 to f16, excellent f5.6 to 11. At 16mm, the sharpness is very good at f3.5 to f16 and it's excellent f5.6 to f11. Lens distortion. The Laowa CF 8 to 16mm suffers from complex wavy barrel distortion at the widest end 8mm. You can improve it a lot by applying +10 for distortion in the lens correction section in Lightroom. At the 12mm focal length, it has some negligible pincushion distortion. The pincushion distortion gets a little worse at the longest end 16mm, but nowhere as bad as it is at its widest end. Vignetting. The vignetting at 8mm focal length is similar or even less than vignetting of other ultra-wide-angle lenses wide open. Generally, stopping down doesn't improve the vignetting much, as the max relative aperture is quite small to start with. f5 at 16mm focal length is about the same aperture where other faster lenses start normalizing, as at the wider end the max relative aperture is f3.5. We see a little more improvement than at the longest end when stopping down. The vignetting at 12 and 16mm are better than other ultra-wide angles though. Aberrations. Neither focus shift nor longitudinal chromatic aberration is a problem at apertures as small as this lens's max relative apertures, especially at these ultra-wide angles. There is a small amount of lateral chromatic aberration present that can easily be fixed in post-processing though. Flare resistance. Generally, you can make any lens look bad in this section. It's much easier if you are dealing with zoom lenses like this one. But for this one it was easier than usual. It doesn't take long to realize that this lens cannot easily cope with flares with the sun in or near the edge of the frame. You can get all kinds of flare with a huge loss of contrast and ghosts in the images. With an 8mm lens, it's not easy to shade the lens with your hand either, as it will be visible in the pictures. I tested the lens at different focal lengths, both wide open and stop down, and I got more or less the same result. Well, you should try to compose with care with the sun in the frame. Coma Correction. The Laowa 8 to 16mm has decent control over the coma. Better than good enough for your testing of taking a couple of starry night shots. If you get serious and want to do it more often, you should look at a faster lens. Sunstars. When I first saw the specifications of this lens with only 5 aperture blades, I thought what a pity, because I didn't think it could produce any nice Sunstars at all. Nonetheless, I couldn't be more wrong. It seems that Laowa has perfected its aperture blade aligning, as Sunstars are one of this Laowa's strongest points. It can produce very well defined and, in my eyes, very beautiful 10-pointed stars at all focal lengths and at all f-stops, except for the wide open aperture f3.5. By stopping down just to f4 on the aperture ring, you can get these gorgeous Sunstars. The more you stop down, the longer the star rays will get. Focus breathing. Unfortunately, the Laowa 8 to 16mm suffers from focus breathing at both ends of its zoom range. Now to the conclusion and sample images. The Laowa 8-16mm is a very versatile wide-angle to ultra-wide-angle lens that has both strengths and some weaknesses. Its strengths are an extreme zoom range, sharpness across the frame top down and in the center areas wide open, ability to use front filter for such a wide-angle lens, low coma and chromatic aberrations, plus big and pretty Sunstars. Its sharpness in the corners and chromatic aberrations, vignetting and lens distortion are not too bad, actually they are better than average. Its weakest characteristic is its flare resistance, and for an ultra-wide-angle lens, it can be a big issue as there is a high probability that it will be used for landscape photography, where it's easy to get the sun in the frame with such wide angles. Overall, its strengths outweigh its weaknesses in my opinion. If you want an ultra-wide to wide-angle zoom lens that is compact and handy, this is the perfect lens for you. As mentioned earlier, this review exists in written format on our blog site. You can find many detailed charts of sharpness and other characteristics with more sample images there. I put a link to the blog post in the description below. Huge thanks for watching. Any comments are most welcome. Show some appreciation by giving me the thumb up, and for more content like this, please subscribe if you haven't done so yet. I hope this video inspired you to create amazing photos. Share your results with me. See you soon and have a fantastic day everyone.